Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Let's take stock of the global news flow in the US markets before we come to our markets, which are above 20,000. So, the global news flow, European stocks, in addition to the US stocks, closed higher in a busy week for global economic data. Tesla shares jumped 9% after a Morgan Stanley upgrade, actually jumped 10% nearly after the Morgan Stanley upgrade, and just shows that when there is apparently no other reason for a market cap as large as Tesla to move up 10%, just shows the dearth of ideas there too, maybe. Oil prices are steady around the 10-month highs. India has imposed some anti-dumping duty on some steel products, Chinese steel products, for 5 years. And Apple's iPhone 15 event kicks off today. Well, it was not just the European markets, by the way. The US markets did okay too. If you just look at what the performance of the US markets was, a percent higher for the Nasdaq, S&P 500 0.67%, Dow quarter of a percent, and no doubt Tesla had a part to play here. By the way, while Tesla did really well, if you look at what happened to, for example, Oracle after in the after hours trading, that stock was down about maybe 8-9% as well. So, of course, not as large as Tesla, but I'm just mentioning it. The other cues, the dollar index came off a little bit. So from 105 odd levels, it's now at 104. And that is probably leading to what's happening in the metal space in the session today. VIX is flattish and the 10-year yields have stayed steady at around that 4.30 mark. The gift Nifty early morning was indicating a start in the positive. About, right now it's saying what it is, but it was indicating a start about a third of a percent higher. So bear that in mind. Now, what's the trade setup therefore after we've nudged 20,000 yesterday? I think arguments can be made of a need to exercise caution selectively, but a blanket avoidance is certainly not necessary, not even at the broader end of the spectrum. I know there is a Kotak note which has done the rounds yesterday, and the stories then on our website as well about how they are saying that they are kind of avoiding or withdrawing recommendations maybe on a bunch of mid caps or all mid cap stocks because of the kind of valuations that we are trading at. You know, I don't know if that is indeed necessary. In fact, I would urge people to read up or hear the conversations that we had with not one, not two, but three experts and three large portfolio managers about what to do post that. Yes, they exercise caution and they spoke about it, but they mentioned that. I mean, there are select pockets which are doing well, so there's no necessity to have a blanket avoidance to my mind. But there are cautionary signs. Nifty PCR is at very close to 1.5 levels from where it usually brings about a bit of a pullback. Quant indicators are talking about greed zone, maybe not extreme greed, but it's certainly the greed zone as opposed to the fear zone. And PSU stocks are trading at punchy valuations, and you need to be very selective in that sector, at least, viewers. Just look at the kind of moves that some of the PSUs have done in the last 1 month. And I can't talk about future Ps because don't quite have a handle on, for example, the earnings that BHEL will show up. So I've looked at TTMP and look at the valuations that some of those are trading at and look at the 1 month gains that some of those are trading at. I mean, the last 1 month have been just spectacular for some of these companies. Yeah. So that is to be kept in mind. A very dear friend who is a portfolio manager has sent me a note this morning, and it brings out some very interesting data points about some of the PSUs. So that's to be kept in mind. So SJVN, I haven't mentioned SJVN here. It was up about whatever 15-20%, whatever it is. The market cap at 30,000 crores with P multiples at 30 times trading 12 months. ROC just 10%. Sales growth for the last 5-10 years has been less than 10%. Not too much delivery based buying. RVNL 16% higher. Market cap is at 27 times P. It rose at 17-18 times. Delivery percentage is not very high. People are asking why is IRFC more expensive than Kotak and HDFC Bank? Well, maybe pertinent questions, but maybe as some people are saying, PSUs as a pocket are changing. And yes, there are a lot of naysayers, but there are believers. The likes of Ramesh Tamani have been vocal and speaking on various platforms about how they believe that the space is undergoing a change. I don't know what will be right and what will be wrong, but the PSU stocks for now are enjoying a run like they've never enjoyed in the recent past, to my mind. And my only limited point is that because of the valuations that some of these are trading at, you got to be a bit careful and selective in choosing which one might be worth its weight in gold. So please be careful there. Stocks in news, metal stocks, softer dollar and Chinese credit data boosted metals on LME with copper, aluminum, and zinc, all of them rising. Separately, as per a Reuters story, India has imposed anti-dumping duty on some Chinese steel products for 5 years. Maybe watch out for some wheel companies as well, steel wheel companies, so on and so forth. So watch out for some of the metal and metal-related stocks in the session today. Some of the East India-based cement companies might be in focus. As per a Nomura note, there is a price hike in cement in East India, and dealers suggest that the first hike was largely absorbed. Well, this could be interesting for some of those cement players. So keep an eye out if any of these react, you know why they are reacting. As per media reports, L&T Finance could be in focus because Bain Capital will sell stake of up to 2.62% equity, which is worth about 850 crores via block deals. The floor price is just set at around the current market price, and if indeed gets absorbed, then there might be some more gains some gains for L&T Finance. So be mindful of that. The big boy Reliance Industries, KKR will invest about 2,000 crores in Reliance Retail Ventures, increasing its stake to 1.42 from 1.17. The deal values the retail giant at 8.36 lakh crore rupees. I haven't mentioned Tata Power, and I want to make a brief mention about the Adani Group stocks, which I'll make at the end of this trade setup. Larsen and Toubro is the other one. They've increased the buyback price to 3,200 from 3,000 apiece, and the number of shares has been reduced from 3.33 crores to 3.12 crores. Power Grid now has officially won the bid for the 20 gigawatt interstate transmission project in Rajasthan on a build, own, operate and transfer BOOT basis. The shares will turn X bonus today, by the way, in the ratio of 1 for every 3 shares held. So there could be a bit of a price drop in Power Grid. But the point being, they have won this large bid. 20 gigawatts is a large one. The only point is that we spoke about this, I think, last week or last to last week, talking about how they were the front runners any which ways, and they'd almost won the bid. So in some sense, part of the news is discounted, but keep in mind. I think Samir Arora put out a very interesting tweet yesterday, wherein he's talking about how in the life journey of a power plant, that they are L1, then they've won, then they've got the concessions, then they've done this, then they're starting constructing. The stock can't move on all of these announcements because it's a part of a chain. But that notwithstanding, 20 gigs is a large one. Maybe Power Grid reacts today, so that's to be kept in mind. A lot of promoter action. Okay, Virat is pulling out something. Yeah, this is the one. It's actually a pertinent tweet, viewers. So bear that in mind. Then a lot of promoter action and mutual fund action. You know why I bring this up. So, for example, yesterday a clutch of these Adani Group stocks. Just before we get to the MF action, yesterday a clutch of the Adani Group stocks. Excuse me, I'll just. Yeah, a lot of these Adani Group stocks were in focus yesterday because the stocks gained quite dramatically in the session. The only key point is that the news that had come out was that the Adani Group stocks, so the Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports, had seen the promoter group increase the stake. And as a result of that, these stocks went up in trade. Now, wherever you see some smart promoter action, there might be merit in trying to see what could be happening in those pockets. So bear that in mind. Similarly, on the mutual fund side, there's some bit of buying that has happened in some stocks yesterday. So watch out for KNR Construction. HDFC Mutual Fund bought about 15 lakh shares. Zomato, Kotak Select Focus added Zomato. Rishabh Instruments, Quant Mutual Fund has bought 1% stake. Nippon MF has bought 2.63% stake. So to watch out for each of these. Then some queries. I'll start off with the last query first, which is somebody's asking about whether the time is ripe to take a leverage short. Ashish Gupta is asking. I don't know if this is in reference to how I've been saying on the trade setup for the last few weeks since that time that don't take a leverage short. And I hope people acceded to that request, because I mean, it's not my intelligence alone. It's just that what some of the indicators were suggesting. Are indicators suggesting that it's time to go leverage short? Not as yet. But is this, so it's a good question to answer, because this may not be the time to take a leverage long. I think that certainly comes out. But we maybe Ashish, I mean, maybe you're a better judge because you might be a better trader. I'm just saying, maybe there are indications which are taking us to levels from where, you know, there might be some uh, shorts underway, but short position opportunities underway, but maybe not as yet. In fact, I think JM Financial's Rahul mentioned in a tweet that he believes that we are on course for 10,000, 20,400. Uh, that's just a percent and a half away. So wouldn't surprise if it gets eclipsed as well. I'm just laying it out that maybe not as yet, but who knows, I could be wrong. The way I'm uh, mentioning this is that it's not a time to take very large leverage longs for sure, except for select pockets if you're confident. Then there's a query: do you think IT sector is ready for a rally? It's lagging as of now. Well, Surya, very good morning to you. Multiple people that I've spoken to have said that IT is getting ready for becoming very attractive at some point of time in the next 2 or 3 months. Maybe not immediately, but remember, they've won a lot of orders recently. So that is one good part. Select companies have won large deals at a point of time, and everybody thought that that wouldn't happen. So that's a positive. So that's part one. And part two, uh, some of the valuations are certainly attractive. So selectively, uh, these things could happen. Uh, there's a query about, so I can't mention if there is a rally in the offing immediately or no, but investing in an IT fund might not be a bad idea. SIP. Uh, some query about, please guide on Nifty at all-time highs. What P says about PE of Nifty, Bank Nifty, mid cap. Well, Vijay, very good morning. The only problem with this such kind of data crunching is that data can show you both the positive and the negative side. If you compare it to historical multiples when we were at peaks, you know, I I don't think we are that expensive compared to what's happened at peaks, excessive bubble territory. So we are not there yet. Does it mean we have to reach the bubble territory? Maybe not. So, but are we expensive? Yes, we certainly are. Is there caution warranted? Very likely. Yesterday, Siddharth Bhaiya of Equitas, Andrew Holland of Avendus, Vikas Khemani, all of them mentioned that there is merit in trying to be selectively cautious. But like I said, much unlike the Kotak note, I don't think that there needs to be a blanket avoidance, if you will. There's a query on Adani Port. I'm sorry, I can't mention about Adani Group stocks because they own Kevin BQ Prime, 48% stake in BQ Prime. So, and I can't anyway stock on individual stocks per se. I'm not an expert, but what we can do is, Kevin, if you have a question on Adani Ports, we've now started our show Ask BQ at noon and on select days, and therefore maybe you can try and put in the query there, and somebody can answer that. But the fact that uh, there was a rally in the offing yesterday in a meaningful way, and brokerage notes constructive on this stock. The consensus estimates are higher than the current market price, is what I can tell you. But I don't have a view on any individual stock, to be very honest. I can't give a view, and I don't want to give a view, and certainly not on the Adani Group stocks per se, because standard disclosure, the Adani Media Group, Adani Media Ventures owns 14% stake in BQ Prime, which is the owner of Quintillion Business Media. So please keep that in mind, a standard disclaimer. Anyways, a bunch of important conversations lined up today with Nifty at 20,000. Since there's so many people want to know what to do, Saurabh Mukherjee of Marcellus joins it at 9:30 a.m. to talk about his thoughts on how does he see the market and life beyond 20K. We do a conversation with arguably one of the largest money managers in the country, Prashant Khemka. So that conversation will play out sometime during the day today. So that's something you want to tune in for at 1:15 p.m. Adarsh Sinha of Bank of America joins in to talk about currencies and what the dollar index strength/weakness might mean for currencies. And we'll try and extrapolate that conversation with Prashant onto what it could mean for for risk assets. So some very important names, some very cerebral names joining to talk about their thoughts today. In addition to, of course, the common trade talk that we will do, which will be very important as well. So at 8:30, at 11, at 3:15, you may want to tune in as well. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. Have a great day ahead.